Morning, Friday, October 25th, 2024. I'm Larissa. It's my video diary. Time's come to scratch my back and drink from skulls. Oh my God. Oh my God. So, it may come to be that I am open later hours, at least a couple of days a week. Yeah. So, yesterday I was open to public, and later in the day, I guess halfway through the day, I started work on the next chapter of the book, which I got finished, and I'll get to that because I'm going to talk about it. Um, but I wasn't done at closing time, so I stuck around and finished the chapter. So I was I was there like a little bit later. Plus, um, watching the camera and things. There's more foot traffic in the evening. So I think, you know, I still have time. I can change my hours in the December issue. But being open later in November, having to still stay open at the time that I say I'm open, 11, and then staying open later, but then changing my hours in December, being open from 1 to 8, or 1 to 7s, or 1 to 8. 1 to 8. Yeah, I think that might be good. 1 to 8, at least on Thursday and Friday. Saturday I won't do that because we'll go out to dinner. We go to dinner on Saturdays, but I think on Thursdays and Fridays I might be open from 1 to 8, starting December. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I got the next chapter written, and it's interesting. I decided that I did need to go back to the other character, um, and check in with her, um, and see things through her perspective and what was going on with her. And in that process, saw something else happen, right, with one of the other characters that I did not see coming. Oh my goodness, it was such a surprise. So, and it's going to work well as kind of a bouncing point or trigger point for the main character. I think so. I don't know, one, maybe two more chapters, and I'll be able to finish this book. One or two more chapters. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I'll probably work on that a little bit today. I also wrote an article yesterday. I wrote an article, so that was good. Mm, mm, mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. I read an article this morning. The headline caught my eye: "The Dark Side of Meditation, of Mindfulness and Meditation." I'm like, yeah, it's nice to see somebody talking about that, because and the article started off that way, so something we don't talk about, and it's true. Now they didn't go into it was it was a relatively pedestrian article in that it was written at a level that anybody can access it, right? Whether or not they have any kind of experience with meditation. As a person with extensive experience in meditation, right? I can speak to what this article was talking about. So, yeah, meditation does not it's marketed as something that can really um, promote well-being, and the answer to that is yes, and or maybe even yes, but um, it can. But meditation being marketed, it's kind of like the way yoga has been westernized. there's aspects that are intrinsic parts of the practice that are neglected because of um, um, westernization or things being things that aren't um, understood because they're not part of the general Western vernacular or um, you know, culture or belief system or they exist in a different way. So meditation is not a secular practice, and it is promoted in Western culture as a secular practice, and it is not. And the neglect of the spiritual side of meditation is what does not allow people to be able to talk about the dark side of mindfulness and meditation. Um, so it's Western practitioners sterilize it. It would be like taking Christian practices, but then removing any reference to Jesus or the Holy Spirit out of them, right? And so, you know, most people don't understand that with meditation. So the when you open the psyche, your consciousness, now the psyche and the consciousness are kind of are two different things. Um, the psyche is more human. The consciousness is closer to soul, pure essence. When you open yourself, when you open your being in meditation, right there are the cosmos, the akashic, the ethereal realms are full of beings, right? So chanting is frequently used to promote brainwave patterns to get to meditative state, right? Because meditative state can be measured in your brainwave patterns, like it's a physical state. Um, but like chanting can be used to get there, right? Um, and so like there's that chant, Loka Somasta Sukino Bhavantu, right? What those words mean is may all the beings in all the worlds find contentment or happiness, right? Um, it's not exactly happiness like the way we use happiness in the English language. And it's not exactly contentment the way we use contentment in the English language. It's a kind of combination of the two words. And that is an appeasement, or that is an intention setting, right? That chant is an intention setting. And that is to in an attempt to make your being, announce your being's intent in that realm, right? Because beings that are not incarnate in body exist in that vibrational plane at all times, right? By putting yourself into that state, by placing your being into that state, you are moving in a different world, right? It would be like if one of those beings were to manifest physically next to you just out of nowhere, right? Our physical state acts as a filter that keeps us from moving in that world um, constantly, right? So like those who practice sit in meditation, whether you're talking about Buddhists or Hindu ascetics or whatever, when you're talking about people in in Vedic practice and Vedantic practice, um, who are religious, right? Religious people. Their goal being to exist in both worlds at once, right? To reach the state of samadhi while physically incarnate. And it's it's hard because that is a whole other reality. So they were talking in the article about, how meditation can induce psychosis. Yes, it can. Or it can induce a a state. Do you want in here, mister? He does. He wants in here. Coming in here. Okay. Look who it is. Look who it is. I closed the door. I closed that door. I did. I closed it. So, what was I saying? Oh, so when if you are able to get into that state easily, right? Because meditation is something that everybody, I think, has the capacity to get there, to reach that state, that meditative state. Some people can get there more easily than others, right? Some people have a talent for it. It's a skill. It's a skill, yeah. But some people have a talent for it, just like any other skill, right? But there's training. If it's like you can be overly flexible but not have the strength to hold an asana, and you can hurt yourself, right? You can overexert a muscle, right? And injure yourself. It's kind of the same thing, right? Like if you people who have to work at it slowly to finally get there, you know, there that behooves them in that it trains them in that process slowly, right? To become accustomed to what experiences, sensations come up in the process of meditation. But people who have a talent for it, that may not necessarily be the case, right? It's a lot to take on. And when you enter into those worlds, if your intention is if you do not have right intention, these are all things. Right intention, right action, all right? Um, if you do not have right intention, the other beings in that realm are going to be aggressive or assertive, right? And that can induce a state of what appears to be psychosis or is psychosis. My personal perspective on psychosis and schizophrenia is that the brain anatomy in whatever reason way, whatever that physicality is or chemical makeup is, whatever, has allowed that person's brain to access those realms unconsciously and without control, right? And so there's a confusion between the two worlds, right? Yeah. Am I saying the voices are real? I'm saying I think they are beings that are not in this plane and are, no more equipped to be acting in this plane than we are in those planes, right? There can be mischief, right? So it's the difference between conscious channeling and unconscious channeling, right? A person who consciously channels opens themselves to those realms and allows their physical vessel to be used as conduit for communication and messages from other realms. Um, and it is a dangerous practice. It's interesting, But it is a dangerous practice because if you are not um, careful, if you're not careful, you're every time you open up the channel, that your channel becomes wider, right? And you know, it can be easy to lose yourself, right? You have to have a deep respect for the fact that this vessel has been the vessel that you are in is your gift. It is yours. And not allow the inhabitation of other being in your vessel. I think this is also where, like issues of DID and possession and such phenomena come from the vessel being open and being shared. So yeah, there is a dark side to mindfulness and meditation. And I think Western culture does a great disservice by not acknowledging the spirituality of those practices, the origins of the practice. It is not a secular practice, but it is very much presented as such. Yeah, it's not a secular practice. What I mean, but what does secular mean? It means separate from spirituality or religion. Yeah, so I was interesting to see that article. It's interesting to see that article. It was relieving to see that article. I was like, oh, that's nice to see. That's nice to see. So poor Omar, he hasn't been feeling good. He seems to be feeling a little bit better today. I think he had a low grade fever, but that has broken. So that's good. I made a conscious effort to not sleep facing him, so that I wasn't breathing in any germs he was putting off. And he hasn't been getting kisses at all from me. He's been kisses from Brody. Been getting kisses from Brody. Yeah. Anyway. Anyway. So yeah. Things I'm thinking about this morning. Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting feedback, um, getting response on the work that's going to be published in the December issue. It's a photography heavy issue, and I'm extremely pleased with it. Um, I think it's beautiful. Um, it's beautiful, and there's darkness to it. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Mm. Mm. Beautiful darkness. Oh, it makes me think of the horn solo in Anywhere on This Road. That song, the horn solo at the end. Haunting, haunting. Song is beautiful, but that horn solo, yeah, it's something. It really, really is. Yeah. Oh, I saw a Neil deGrasse Tyson clip last night. He was talking about him having a miff with Elon Musk, which I totally understood. And he had a good point, about how, you know, industry follows the giant steps, like that SpaceX hasn't done anything hasn't done anything that NASA hasn't already done, and that, anything that SpaceX is doing is supplementary and supportive of NASA efforts, and basically is calling SpaceX a potential contractor for contracting out like delivery truck service, right? I don't have any problem with that. Um, what I do have a problem with is Elon Musk having such a being so vocal and side taking politically, publicly, right? While also going after and taking part in government contracts, right? That's problematic. That is conflict of interest, and he needs to be told to knock it off. Like, there's nothing wrong with having personal political views, but it's like, what is your impetus? Like, why do you have to be promoting any one side or the other? Because when you are engaged in taking political contract, right? Whatever party is in power is the party you have to work with, right? And so if you are positioning yourself to run for office, that's one thing. But if you are running a business and you have to interface with government with the government regardless of who's in power, it is a conflict of interest for you to be pushing one political agenda over another, right? And it is certainly problematic ethically, morally, and potentially legally to be paying people for votes. And I can't, you know, it's hard for me to buy into him being some fucking genius and not know that, right? Not be able to understand that, be able to glean that, be able to, like, what, why don't you know that? Nobody had to tell me, and I could figure it out, right? I don't endorse candidates. I don't. I don't endorse candidates. Does it mean that I don't vote for individuals? No, I do. I just don't publicly endorse candidates. Because I have government contracts? No, but I don't want to exclude myself from the potential of being able to work with a government program for, with something I do, right? Besides that, like, who I vote for is nobody's fucking business. It really isn't. And it shouldn't, nobody should feel inclined to be telling people who they vote for. It just causes problems. Like, so there's a group of Trump people in, Santa Cruz is a very liberal area. California is period, but Santa Cruz is, you know, keep Santa Cruz weird. Santa Cruz is an interesting place. Anyway, there's a group of Trumpers that come out on this overpass that I have to drive. I drive across. It's not far from our home, and they're obnoxious. And they walk across the street, and usually there's just a couple of them. But the last, getting as we get closer to the election, they've been getting some larger numbers out there, and they've been parking trucks. And I got a truck. I like trucks, and they see me drive by, and they assume because if you drive a truck, that there's a chance that you might be a supporter. Um, anyway, there's a house on the corner just beyond that, and they put a sign. They never they've had like bond measure signs out in their yard before on the corner. But they're not. They've never had like tons of political signs. It's this house, right? And they had a small Harris Walls sign for a while, and then it was gone. Well, after this last, the Trumpers come out on Friday. They'll probably be out there today. And there was a sign last Saturday after the Trumpers, and it's in its place, and it said, "You can steal my sign." It said something about like dear Trumpers or dear Trump supporters. You can steal my sign, but I still can vote. And I'm just like, how fucking childish is that? How childish is that? Right? So, this is why I don't publicly endorse candidates. And I don't understand why anybody does. Because this is the way people act. Yeah. Trump supporters out stealing other people's yard signs. How childish is that? It's super childish. Really immature. And I'm like, oh, that's the mentality of his support base. I'm gonna steal your yard sign. Oh my god. Oh my god. No, I'm not a Trump supporter. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat either. So figure it out. Or don't. It's not your business. Hmm. Your vote is sacred. And it's personal. And it's private. And it's nobody else's business. What's my favorite color? Payne's gray.